Hello everyone, welcome back to Yuno Learning. So in today's session, we are going to discuss another recent IELTS Writing Task 2 question. We're going to decipher what exactly are the examiners looking for when you write your answer and what criteria do you need to fulfill so that you can also get your desired band score. Because a lot of times you write your essay well, you think you have done pretty well, but you still don't get the desired band score. So what are those few key elements that we have to remember while answering your IELTS writing task too? So let's start with the different types of essays that you can encounter in an IELTS writing task one. So remember, there are two parts within your question. And what are these two parts? There is number one, the statement that is given to you, whatever the overall agenda of the essay is. And then the other part is instruction. Now, depending upon the instruction, is how we're going to attempt or approach or essay this particular statement. Now, the statement may be same, but there are different ways they might instruct you to answer this. And in that case, it is very, very important for you to realize what exactly instruction requires what kind of response. So if we begin, number one, we have discussion. So when I say discussion, it means you are supposed to discuss the ideas that are being talked about in the statement, right? So let's take, and in this discussion, you will discuss these ideas neutrally. What do I mean by that? You'll not be taking any side or any biases. You'll simply be explaining why both of those viewpoints are valid and what are the reasons to support them. But if they ask you for your opinion as well within this essay, then you will write your opinion. And depending upon a balanced opinion or a one sided opinion, we will uh, decide what structure of the essay are we going to follow. Then we have opinion essays, which in itself is pretty clear. When you're given an opinion essay, you're supposed to put forward your opinion on the matter. And again, depending upon your balanced or one sided opinion, you will again decide what kind of structure are you going to follow. Other questions might include problem solution essay, wherein you will be talking about the problems associated with a particular thing and synced in solutions. So when I say synced in solutions, I mean solutions that are uh, exactly referring to the problems that you have discussed in that particular essay. So it cannot be that you're discussing some sort of problem and the solution is no way relevant to it, or solution is something that's a very generic solution for any other things. So when we are writing a problem solution essay, remember the problems have to be synced in with the solutions. Some other ways could be advantage and disadvantage essays, wherein you'll be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of a particular state. Now, remember, within this particular category, there are multiple variations. If I say advantages and disadvantages, that means I'm asking you to write about advantages as well as disadvantages in equal amount. But if I say or, then you can choose one side or the other. But if I say do advantages outweigh disadvantages, in that case, we're supposed to follow a ratio of 2:1, where advantages will be more or disadvantages will be more, and the other side will be less, because we're supposed to tell which side outweighs the other side. So if, let's say, I'm favoring in for advantages, then I'm going to say that advantages outweigh disadvantages. This is how, depending upon just a slight change in the instruction, like see how and or and outweigh have changed the complete approach to the question that you're going to answer. This is why it is very important for you to acquaint yourself with different kinds of instructions, read the question thoroughly, and then go and attempt it. Only then you'll be able to score your desired band score, because it is very important for you to fulfill all the requirement criteria for your task relevance. All right, so the question we have here was asked on 24th of February 2024 this year. So the question says, employers should give their staff at least a 4-week holiday a year so that they can do their job better. So this is your statement. This here is just a common statement. This tells you what the agenda of this essay is going to be about. The other line, to what extent do you agree or disagree, is the instruction that I talked about. Now, as you can see from the instruction, this question is asking you about your opinion. Thus, fourth, this is an opinion essay. And since it says to what extent do you agree or disagree, you also have the liberty to go 70 to 30%. That means you do say that yes, there should be at least a 4 week holiday. But at the same time, there should be some measures because work needs to be done. So this is where you can choose your opinion. It could be either balanced or one-sided, but more on that later. So let's focus on the statement itself. So what are we talking about here? Let's underline the keywords here. Employers should give their who staff what? At least a 4 week holiday. Why? So that they can do their job better. Now, why is this important? What I just did here. So, whenever you're writing your answer, you need to make sure that you are catering to all the parts and segments of the question itself. That if I'm talking about giving employers a 4 week holiday, am I talking about giving them a 4 week holiday for better economy of India or better economy of the country or better, let's say, work life balance, etc., etc., etc.? Now, all of those things are very relevant. But in this particular question, we're supposed to correlate it to how it will make them do their job better because it is mentioned in the statement. So, whenever you're reading the question, make sure that you're understanding all the keywords and important segments of the question so that you can make sure that your task relevance, which is graded in your paper, is on spot. So, who are we talking about? We're talking about employers. What should they do? They should give their staff a 4 week holiday so that they can do their job better. So, dissect it as much as possible so that when you're writing your answer, you do not sway away from what exactly the question is asking you to do. This way, there's no chance for the examiner to deduct your marks, at least on the basis of relevance to the question. So we understood the given statement, we dissected it, we understood the instruction. Now it's time to generate content. But before we generate content, we're going to think about what exactly your opinion is going to be. Now you can write it in two ways. Number one, 100% agreement or disagreement. Yes, I agree. There should be a 4 week holiday. No, I disagree. There shouldn't be a 4 week holiday. That is one way to go about it, where you are 100% on one side. But there could be a partial agreement also. That, okay, I think that a 4 day holiday is good. But at the same time, I feel that work will not get done. So maybe we can make it 3 weeks, or maybe we can increase the number of hours, or some sort of other partial agreement. So if you're going for 100% agreement, in that case, you'll start with introduction. Write down your two body paragraphs, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, depending upon your agreement or disagreement, and then you will conclude your essay with a conclusion. Now, this is for 100%. But wherein, if it's a partial agreement, then what will the structure look like? Then it will change to, we'll start with, again, introduction, body paragraph 1 for the opposing partial agreement, right? That, okay, somewhat you agree. Why do you agree? Body paragraph 2, why, what is your viewpoint personally for, let's say, disagreement, right? Because you're disagreeing more than you're agreeing. Then body paragraph 3 for, again, disagreement, which is your viewpoint, and then we'll conclude it. So this is how you go supposed to go about a balanced opinion. Here, agreement and disagreement is just upon your choice. So if you are agreeing more, then this will go opposite. This, you will start with disagreement and then write two paragraphs for agreement. So see just how first the instruction changed a lot of things for us, and then what are we supposed to write changed the entire structure of the essay itself. This is why a lot of times students are unable to score their desired band, because these are the barriers they forget to interpret. Like they are very good and exclusive, expressive about the things that they feel about everything, but structure is also very, very important in your academic writing. Now let's start with introduction. What are the important things that we need to cover in introduction, and what are the purposes behind it? Number one, paraphrase. Now, what do I mean by paraphrase? That you're supposed to rewrite the question in your words so that it, number one, doesn't look copy pasted. It should not sound like you have just copy pasted the question itself. You took the question and you put it out there. No, you are a person who is eligible and who is showing the examiner that you have ways of expressing yourself in this language. Thus, both change the structure of the essay, the sentence, change the words here and there, use synonyms, and paraphrase the question. And by reading this, the examiner should know what this essay is about without even reading the question. Next step that we're going to do is we can discuss the pointers briefly. That what are you going to talk about? What all things are we going to include in this? You can discuss them briefly, but again, this is an optional thing that you may or might do. Next, thesis. Very, very important. Now, what do we mean by thesis? Nothing. But the instruction that is given to you, you have to answer it very, very clearly. What do I mean by it here? To what extent do you agree or disagree? So the answer for this would be I completely agree, I partially agree, or however you feel, but you clearly write down it in your introduction. This is very important. The examiner should know from the get go what do you think about it. The introduction should serve its purpose of making the examiner know exactly what you believe your opinions are about and how exactly you're going to proceed with the essay. Let's start. It is a common notion that workers should be given at least a month's holiday. So, see, we talked about 4 week holiday. So, how many? A 4 week holiday is 28 days, which is close to a month. So, you can write at least a month's holiday annually so that they can work in a better way. Instead of writing their job better, we mentioned they can work in a better way. I completely agree with this notion. This is your thesis statement, as all employees require a break in order to recharge themselves. So, briefly, I mentioned that I'm going to talk about how it helps them recharge. So, this is how you're supposed to write an introduction. An ideal introduction is around 40 to 50 words, or maybe 35 to 50 words, but you should not exceed more than 50 words. Otherwise, you will be just exceeding your word limit and making it too wordy, which none of us require. All right. Next, let's go. Next slide, we have body paragraph 1. Here we will talk about our agreement. So this in this particular essay, I have chosen to go with 100% agreement. But what does the structure of a body paragraph look like apart from your agreement? So in a body paragraph, the essential elements are topic statement. What do we mean by topic statement? You open your paragraph, you tell us that what is this particular paragraph about? What idea are you going to discuss in this paragraph? Explain. You cannot just give your idea, you have to explain it. How? By giving relevant ideas and details. It should be developed thoroughly and enough. And example. So, whatever pointers you're giving, it should also be backed up by an example. These three are the key elements of your particular body paragraph. You can also write a concluding statement if you wish to, but that is again very optional. But all of this is supposed to satisfy the condition that whatever you are writing and mentioning should be developed thoroughly and properly. So, number one, employees who are working all year round hardly get any long breaks, as the most common holidays are usually short ones for festivals or long weekends. So, I'm going to talk about how they don't get time for themselves, right? In order to avoid burnout, they must be given an opportunity to take a month long holiday so that they can break the monotonous work cycle and rejuvenate themselves. So, here we are going to talk about how usually the short festivals, that holidays that we get, are so short that you do not have time to break away from the monotonous work cycle and really rejuvenate yourself. Moreover, taking a significantly long break allows one to recharge oneself. For instance, the example, employees tend to feel free from any sort of stress or pressure when they travel or spend quality time with their family or friends. This separate time allows them the time to appreciate the things and people present in their lives other than work. This is sort of a concluding statement that I've added. Again, it's an option. So we started off with the topic sentence that tells that what this topic is about. We explained it with few more lines, added an example. So this is how a good body paragraph should look like, where your ideas are sufficiently developed throughout. Second body paragraph, again for agreement. Moreover, when one recharges oneself by taking some time off, one tends to perform better as one is full of energy when one comes back to the workplace. This increase in energy can also lead to better ideas and innovation in the daily chores at work. So this is how I'm saying that they can perform better, but I'm just not saying it. I'm while saying also saying that when they have better ideas and innovation with a free mind, when they've already refreshed themselves, this can lead to more innovation to what things they were already doing. For instance, a content writer might get trailblazing ideas once they've spent 3, 4 weeks traveling, as it tends to clear their head. So, content writers are supposed to get ideas and explore and innovate. They can do it better if they are out in the world actually exploring and also giving themselves time to refresh. So, hence, again, a concluding statement, optional one, allowing a 4 week break is going to lead to better work outcomes in the long run. Since this was 100% agreement, now let's quickly move on to the conclusion. For conclusion, remember one thing that you have to keep in mind that is important is you have to add no new pointers. What do I mean by that? That whatever we already talk about, let's say you are writing your essay and at the end of the uh, this writing, you suddenly have an epiphany. Oh, this is such a great point. I can go ahead and I write this also. Don't do that. Only talk about the things that you've already discussed, developed, and given examples for. In conclusion, we are only supposed to wrap up our ideas and not present any new information that will be marked negative. So, see, we'll start with to encapsulate, you can use a linker. Considering the significant benefits it offers, organizations should definitely allow their employees to take a 4 week break once a year so that they can recharge themselves and come back to work with a fresh outlook. So, see how we've just wrapped it up. But while wrapping it up, we have made sure that we paraphrase our sentences. So, these are the things we have already talked about, but we make sure that we are not repeating the sentences that we've already written, right? So instead of writing employees, we said organizations allowed to take for a week once a year so that they can recharge themselves and come to work with a fresh outlook. Instead of writing that innovative ideas, we chose to write fresh outlook. So see how even though these are all the things that we've already talked about, but we changed the wording so that we can find there's no sort of copy pasting done here and there's no redundancy in your essay. Now let's look at the overall essay. So we have our introduction, then we move on to our body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and lastly, conclusion. Now, what are the other things that you have to keep in mind? What are the key criteria? So number one, we have task relevance. So we have already discussed this enough. Task relevance is how relevant is your essay to what was asked to you in the first place. How do you make sure that happens? You read the question at least 5 times before you start writing. You plan it out properly given your instruction, and you see that all the keywords that were there in the question are incorporated one way or the other in your essay. Number two, coherence and cohesion. Your ideas should flow logically and structurally. There should be a structure to your ideas and they should make sense. They should be relevant to each other. Like, for example, in the first paragraph, if I'm talking about how we are talking about avoiding burnout, we're only going to stick to this idea and not add any more ideas here. Okay, this also helps them to innovate. This also helps them to go ahead and commit work more dedicatedly. No, not so many ideas, just one idea, properly develop it, give example. That's how what our approach going to be. We're going to choose few, but we're going to make sure that we develop it enough so that there is no why how left in examiner's mind while they're reading our answer. Then we can also use linkers in our essays. For example, we used for instance, moreover, um, hence, to encapsulate. So these are all the linkers you can also use in your essay that improve the cohesion of your answer. So this makes your answer look more cohesive, and you can join your ideas together in a way to make it more in sync with all the things. Next we have lexical resource. So when I say lexical resource, you make sure that you do not repeat words too many a times, right? For example, let's say month's holiday, right? That is one example. Instead of writing 4 week break, we write month's holiday. Then words like burnout, then monotonous, rejuvenate. Instead of saying refreshing again, we're saying rejuvenate, recharge. These are all the variations of recharge that we have written here. Then trailblazing. Trailblazing means really exceptional ideas. Then we have chores, that means the daily work that you do, daily small menial tasks at work. Then work cycle, one way, a collocation, right? So this is the way you can incorporate more vocabulary in your essay by using synonyms and also using some sort of, adjectives, phrasal verbs here and there so that you can elaborate how and tell the examiner that you're really good with your usage of words. But do not use a word until unless you're sure of its meaning, right? Do not use a synonym if you are a little bit con- uh, doubtful about what its exact meaning is. Last, we have grammatical range and accuracy. So, accuracy means definitely that your grammar has to be accurate. That means that all the sentences you're writing, your tenses have to be correct, your sentences have to be written properly, but also your punctuation, right? So, where are you putting your commas? Are you putting a comma after hence because it's a conjunction, or if there's an independent clause following it? So, should are you putting the comma before that or after that? All of these things are very, very important. So, remember, your full stops and your commas also matter. Sometimes we also use a semicolon to make a break between two sentences when we're trying to add more information. That is also very, very important. So remember to revise your punctuations again and again and make sure that you use them correctly. These might look very negligent or might very small, but they are a huge part of your score as well. Now, when we talk about range, what do I mean? For range means you have to use different kinds of sentences. For example, compound sentences, when you're using just and, but to join two sentences together. Then complex sentences, when you're using some other sorts of conjunctions, for example, although, even though, to make a compound sentence where you have an independent clause and a dependent clause, and then compound complex sentences. So make sure that you use a range of sentences and tenses in your essay so the examiner knows that you have a grasp over these. All right. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining. For more such IELTS interactive sessions and content, please follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you feel like there's something that you want us to incorporate in our upcoming sessions, please go ahead and comment below. If you want access to these sample answers and resources that we have carefully met and meticulously crafted for you, you can visit our website www.yunolearning.com. You can also find your crash courses or foundational or your comprehensive IELTS classes at this website. And if you feel like you need something more concrete within your for your English classes, you can go ahead and enroll in the foundational classes that we have to offer. If you have any other queries, please give us a call at this number. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you again.
नहीं, दिल्ली जाऊंगा मैं